Hey guys, it's Jesse from averagejesse.com here in one of my raised beds in my backyard, and there's a huge problem with this raised bed. Just a problem that's been keeping me up at night. It's driving me crazy. The problem is it's full. I have no room to plant anything new. So today I'm gonna build another raised bed to go in this section over here on the outer perimeter of my grass, and I'm gonna build it on camera to show you how I build it from some really inexpensive bits of wood from Lowe's, and then hopefully we'll get this done in short order. We can fill it up and get back to planting and growing and eating. So the wood we're going to be using today are these 6-foot untreated redwood fence planks, as well as a 10-foot 4x4, again untreated redwood that we're going to use as the corner pieces that we're going to screw the fence into. I've got 6 of these redwood fence planks at $2.55 each, so it was a little over $15. And then the 4x4 behind me was $17.45. So after tax, probably $36, 36 and some change to build the raised bed. There's a couple of screws that I have from previous projects, so you might need to spend another $5 in some screws. Some 2-inch deck screws ought to do it, or whatever you have laying around ought to work. So this is a really inexpensive way to build a raised bed. So the first thing that I like to do is take a ruler or a square and find out where this nose of the fence plank is and score a line. I'm going to cut that so I have some nice even rectangular planks. Okay, nice and square. Now for the 4x4, I know that I want 18.5 inches for the side post, just from trial and error on my previous raised bed that I built. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 18.5 here, and one more, 18.5. Then use my straight edge again to ensure that I'm getting straight cuts. Now this piece of wood is thicker than what my saw blade is, so I'm going to flip it around, measure it again at 18.5. And I'm going to cut this way, and hopefully those cuts will line up. Alright, I was off a little bit. I will go ahead and just use a file and file that down. But overall, pretty close. So I'm going to continue doing that down for the rest of this 2x10 or 4x4x10. Okay, I've cleaned up the edges of all these 4x4s. Now we're ready to start assembling the actual frame of the raised bed. The planks, the most attractive side, I want to be out because that's the side you're going to see. And then we're going to drill through the planks into the 4x4 and rinse and repeat for the other 3 sides. So what I've done here is I've made 3 marks at 1.5, 3, and 4.5 inches where I'm going to actually drive the screws. Now, one thing I like to use is a countersink bit, and basically this is going to drill a pilot hole, but this part up here is going to kind of carve out a little cubby for the screw head to sit into. So that way it's flush with the board instead of sticking out. You don't need to do this. I really like this step, but if we see, it makes a nice little kind of divot for the screw head to go in. So I'm going to pre-drill these 3 holes and then sink them in with the these deck screws that I have, 2-inch deck screws. All right, we finished the first plank. So you can see we've got 2 of those planks connected to the 4x4s. Now, in theory, I could put a third up here, but I don't really want to do that. I kind of like having the post so I can maybe take something else and attach it like a trellis and have the trellis going up. It's just another anchor point. And then for me, This raised bed is tall enough for everything I've grown so far, but you can modify any of these measurements as you desire. Okay, so the long ends of our raised bed planter are done, and we need to work on the side parts. So I've got two remaining fence slats here, and they are 70.5 inches. So half of that is going to be 35.25. So 35.25. And so what I'm going to do is to cut these right down the middle, and that'll give me my two side pieces for each side. So I was doing some dry fitting just to see how it was going to look in the place that I wanted it, and I noticed I've got a really big gap on this side and a really small gap on the other side. So I've got to go and grab my rake and move some of these rocks out of the way before I can finish assembly. I do the final assembly of the sides in the location that I want the raised bed to be. Otherwise it's a little heavy and a little cumbersome for me to try and manage myself, so I do the final assembly here. Now I'm going to move these out. I'm going to go back over once more with a heavy rake and try and flatten out the land as much as I can, and then come back and finish these. And it's also going to be nice because my cordless screwdriver was running out of juice, so this is going to give me something to do while that finishes charging. All right, there you have it. So principal construction is now complete on the new raised bed. I've still got to fill it with soil, get irrigation to it, plant it, but there's a couple other things you might want to consider. Now my old bed I put up some wire cloth, some metal cloth to keep the rabbits out. Eventually I want to have a trellis between these two so I can grow my vines, cucumbers, and all different kinds of things up and over vertical between these two beds, so I might end up pushing this one down a little bit. I'm not exactly sure yet. Still have to find a trellis. But for the most part, if I wanted to, I can go put some soil in here and get right on it. This whole project took about an hour and a half, and my 2-year-old went down for his nap before I started, and he is still napping when I'm finished, so that's a good way to end the day. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Jesse with averagejesse.com. Take care. As I was cleaning up all the tools from building this raised bed, it occurred to me that I had a little bit of the 4x4 left. So what I've done is I cut it in half, the remainder in half, and I added some stability to the center of these planks. And you can kind of see over there, just drilled a couple of screws, the same thing we did on the corner post, but it gives it a little bit more stability. And when I put all the soil in here, it'll be less inclined to bow out or to put stress on the screws on the corners. I also double checked the receipt, and that 4x4 was not 10 feet, it was only 8 feet, which is why I just have these little ones. They came out to just over 11 inches on either side remaining after I cut the corner post. So a little bit of update and a little bit of correction on that, but overall I'm really happy with this project, and hopefully someone out there can duplicate this and get their growing started as well.